What's going on, Player Profiler Nation? It's the newest episode of Trade Gods. I am one of the co-hosts, Matty Kiwoom, and I am joined by, of course, my fellow Trade God brethren, the morning man himself, Mr. Jason Allwine. What's going on, Jay?
Nothing much, man. We're ready to record this episode. I have to ask. I mean, we've done so many episodes together, but are you the co-host? I feel like you're the host and I'm the co-host. I feel like you should just call yourself the host.
Isn't it? Aren't you?
I don't know how
by
it
your
works.
very nature of it being two, you're co.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, like you host the show and I'm kind of there also. I mean,
Right,
it's
let's start at the top.
we're-
Let's start at the top. What's going on, Player Profiler Nation? It's the latest episode of Trade Gods. I'm the host with the most, and I'm joined by this guy, Jason.
Ooh, I like that one. Good.
Well, we're already starting tonight's show on absolute fire, and it's only going to get more and more fun because we are grading trades tonight. But it's not just going to be me. It's not just going to be Jason. We got a guest on, surprise guest, if you will. Jason, tell the people listening who's about to join us.
Man, I couldn't be more excited. Could not be more excited to have my friend Seth Diewold joining us. You've seen him on the Writers Roundtable. You've seen him all over Twitter. You've seen him all over the articles. You've seen him now managing the YouTube. What a guy. What a fantastic man. And we finally have him here on Trade Gods again for a second appearance.
Let's get into it.
Oh, there I am. How about that? All right.
What's up?
Wow. What an introduction. Thank you for that. It's been too long, guys, since I've been on Trade Gods, and now we get to talk about the thing that let's face it, we all spend all of our days, all of our waking hours thinking about. It's like, ooh, how can I flip Jalen Waddle for make this team that kind of contender anyway. Anyway, I don't know. It's just a terrible example.
No, you're right. 100%.
This is what we do all day. Is think about making trades.
Yeah, I thought about probably
we're all in leagues together.
Yeah, we need to start. You need to start doing this show. You need to take over one of those FFPC orphans and then flip it like Theo was talking about when you went on one of his shows, Matty. That sounded like a world that you could get absorbed and lost in, is the Dynasty orphan market, where you can flip a team and then put it for sale or something.
Dude, wow. I have never been more intrigued by a fantasy concept than when Theo let that little air out of the balloon and talked about that whole separate market of fantasy gaming. And I was like, Theo, you're going to have to come back on the game plan because I need to hear about this. It was fascinating that you could just take orphans, build them up, build the value, and then flip them almost like, real estate or
Yeah,
it was right, Jason. Right. That was exactly my reaction exactly when Theo brought that up. I was just like, wait a second, is this heaven?
Is this
no,
a new full-time job?
It's Iowa.
Good pull. Good pull.
There we go.
So Seth, we talked about this pre-show. You were the last guy that was on when we graded the last set of trades.
Yeah, I'm back, and we're doing. You guys got a stack of ungraded Dynasty trades, and you needed a teacher to show up. But Bradley Stalder, short notice. I mean, Bradley, I'm sure would have been here if you would have asked. I don't know if you asked or not. To be honest,
Bradley no trades though? He's like a best ball guy. Can you do
that's
trades in those
that's
contests?
Is he a teacher too?
Yeah,
he is a teacher.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Bradley, by the way, go check out Best Bell Fantasy or Stack Hunters as it is now on Tuesday.
Stack Hunters now. We're rebranded, baby. We're making some good stuff out here.
But also go follow his YouTube too. So he's good. He's a good guy, that Bradley. But yeah, he's a teacher. So I just the stack of papers imagery, is what I was thinking of. But I guess I'm the perfect one to do this, to be honest, because I'm a Dynasty player and a teacher. So I'm here for you.
You are best. Yes, you're right. You are in both worlds, so you could provide that teacher pop as well as the analysis of a fantasy football guru like yourself. So you're the perfect guest for this exact segment. And if you get anyone out there who wants to check out that episode of the game plan, I had Theo and JD from the GOAT District on. It was 3 episodes ago. So go ahead and check that out. You can go get that link or at the Player Profiler main feed. We got to get into trade number 1, but before we do, let's hear from the Podfather talk about rival fantasy.
Oh, baseball season's heating up. It's all about baseball right now. Baseball. Yeah, baseball is the most exploitable of the sports, especially on Rival Fantasy, rivalfantasy.com. Go there now. They have the fantasy book where you can take over under a certain number of fantasy points, and they have challenges where you can take player X or player Y. I get great pleasure out of fading Mike Trout into oblivion. And then don't forget about Fantasy Bingo, where you can say, okay, I think Acuna's going to steal a base today. I think that Freddie Freeman's going to have 2 hits based on the matchup. The lefty-righty and the pitcher quality matchups that you could exploit are unlike any other sport. Go to rivalfantasy.com. Use the promo code PLAYER. They refund any losses up to $50, and they are a great supporter of Player Profiler. Everything we do, this show in particular, is only possible because of Rival. Rivalfantasy.com. The promo code is PLAYER.
So go ahead and play a little bit of Rival today. It's a great way to spice up fantasy sports. And if you had been listening to the Podfather since these promos were coming out and just continue to bet Ronald Acuna stolen bags, you'd have yourself a pretty set of little cash going on there. But here we are. We're going to start off with trade number 1, trade number 2 in our notes. But it's trade number 1 here tonight on Trade Gods. It is part of a 12-team PPR Superflex 1.5 TEP. This is important. 6-point passing per touchdown. Start 10. This comes from our guy Barson in the Discord. He received Joe Burrow in a 2024 second. And to get those 2 assets, he traded Michael Pittman, Rashad Bateman, Anthony Richardson, a 24 third, and a 24 first. So teach Mr. Seth, grade the trade here for FF Barson.
Wow. I feel anytime you're on the side of the elite quarterback, that gives you points in the rubric of the trade for sure. And I would love to be able to look at FF Barson's team, because if I had to guess, I'm guessing he had some depth at wide receiver, and he obviously had the 102. So to get Richardson, either the 102, 101, somewhere in there to get Richardson. So I would love to look at his team, but man, that seems like a fair trade on its surface, but I always will lean towards the side of the elite quarterback in a super flex league. So Burrow is a set it and forget it. As much as we like the upside of Anthony Richardson, it's a gamble. It's a really good gamble. I think Richardson's going to pay off big time. Mm-hmm. But if you're a win now team looking for a set it forget it quarterback, I think I don't hate that Burrow side. What do you guys think?
Well, what are you grading it? What's the grade here, Seth? You got to give it a grade here. Mark the paper.
Okay. It's I'll give it a solid B minus, somewhere in there. You did have to give up a haul. You know, there's a first rounder in there in 2025, and Anthony Richardson I like a lot, and Pittman and Bateman, really good receivers to be sure. But I don't know. How do you guys feel about this? I'm interested to hear your opinion.
Jason, what do you got here? How are you grading this thing for Mr.
Yeah, I don't mind the B minus at all. I was actually kind of thinking like a high C plus, like a 78. I feel like is the perfect score for this, because I want to get one thing on the table, and that's I love Joe Burrow. Yeah. I love Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, Joe. I love that, and I think he's just. I just think he's so fantastic to own in Dynasty. But like Seth, I understand that Anthony Richardson is a gamble. However, I think it's a gamble that's going to pay off. When you look for boxes that you're trying to check with a quarterback, to me, Anthony Richardson checks every single one. World-class athleticism. Fantastic coaching staff led by Shane Steichen, who led Jalen Hurts. Great surrounding weapons and Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Jelani Woods, maybe Josh Downs is something. And a division that's really competitive. meaning that the games are going to have decent game scripts. You're always going to have fantasy points coming with every single game that's facing these Colts. So I believe that Anthony Richardson will hit and have the fantastic season. And going into 2024, he will be locked in as a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion. And the fact that you're trading away Anthony Richardson and Michael Pittman, that little Colt stack, stings a good bit. And of course, the potential that Rashad Bateman has. But again, I love Joe Burrow getting the elite proven quarterback in a super flex league. This is just what it takes. So they've definitely passed this trade. It's easily a C. And because I like Joe Burrow so much, I've bumped it up to a C+. The only reason it's not higher is because I do firmly believe that Anthony Richardson will hit. It's just, of course, not proven yet. So it's hard to give him much higher than that.
That's totally fair analysis by both you guys. And I'm with you too. You know, you're getting a guy like Joe Burrow. You're getting a could be as high as top 2 dynasty quarterback, especially in the format, 6 point per passing touchdown. So he's not getting gypped by not being a Konami code guy. You look at the picks in 2024, you're technically you're moving up around, which is a nice little bonus. Yeah. I think if it was a 24 first, I would have swung it slightly in the favor of the guy that Barson made the trade with. But because 25 first, I think you're kicking the can down. You're giving yourself enough time to recalibrate if need be. You're getting Joe Burrow. This is a start 10, 12 teamer. So we're thinking maybe 60 or so wide receivers are started per week. Rashad Bateman is falling closer and closer to that top 60 than he ever was before. You know, he used to be a top 30-ish, top 40-ish guy. Now he's falling there. I mean, I'm with you, Jason. Richardson could absolutely be a dude. He could be somebody that is absolutely startable and relied on for fantasy football. But this is the type of price you have to pay to get a king like Joe. Did I do that right, Jason? I did okay.
That was pretty good.
Not bad.
Wow. Good. You guys can roll your tongues, huh? I can't do that. It'd be like Joe blue, 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 blue. For me.
Joe Blah, David Blah. That's you can do the David Blah. Yeah. We got Joe. You got David Blah.
That's like Jimmy from South Park. Jimmy from South Park.
Anyway, I love the stack here, but I'm gonna give it a B. I'm gonna copy you, Jason. I love the number, the grade here. I'm gonna give it an 83%, so a solid B. I'm gonna give it a B here. I like.
Interesting that we were all kind of in the same ballpark.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
If we know
Joe
what it is to
Joe
get
Burrow.
Joe Burrow. It matters. Joe Burrow certainly matters.
He's so good. Joe Burrow's so good. Joe Blue is so good.
My Atlanta. Oh baby, this is the best. All right, let's move on to trade number 2. We're grading another one here in the Discord. This comes from Am Hutch in Discord at Hutch91 on Sleeper. He's acquiring Jalen Waddle and he's trading away Juju Smith-Schuster, DJ Moore, and Jackson Smith-Njigba in a 10-team PPR Superflex 1.5 TEP. Start 10. Jason, how are you grading this trade?
Yeah, so what's hard for me is that our Discord member did what everyone in the fantasy football community preaches, and that's trading your extra pieces, creating more roster space, and getting a true superstar in Jalen Waddle. The problem with that is you've traded away 2 potential superstars. Matty, I'll let you talk about DJ Moore when it comes around to you, but I love myself some Jackson Smith-Njigba, and I feel like his value can only get higher. Right now, people bring up, the Seahawks don't traditionally run 3 wide receiver sets. They normally do 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers, and that's just what the Seahawks do. But the Seahawks also have never had a wide receiver 3 as good as Jackson Smith-Njigba. And also their second tight end has always been pretty solid. Colby Parkinson last year, Noah Fant. I mean, like solid, decent receivers that are going to get open. But now with Jackson Smith-Njigba, now with the trust that Geno Smith has officially gained in this organization, that's going to change. Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be on the field, and he's going to get plenty of volume because defenses are going to be focused on DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and JSN's just going to be open, man. And I think tons of volume is going to go his way. I think in dynasty purposes, you've got to remember that Tyler Lockett's pushing 30 and only getting older. Eventually will be out of the league. And then JSN's going to be the wide receiver 2 for the Seahawks offense. To me, it's just a recipe for success that's been completely understated around the fantasy football community. But because they have followed the principles as laid out by trade gods and other trade advice fantasy people, I'm only going to put it as low as a C-. I don't think they failed because they have technically traded unproven assets for a proven Jalen Waddle. I just personally do believe in all 3 of these unproven assets to a certain degree. It's where I think overall I would take the other team's side, but I'm not too upset about it. So I'm just going to give them a firm 70. They've passed, but that's it.
Okay, I like that. Everyone here that's tuning into the Trade Gods knows how I feel about DJ Moore, and knows that I believe that there will be a breakout season among us now that he will be a no doubt alpha with a talented quarterback. Sometimes players are good enough to change the course of an offensive philosophy, and I think the connection of Fields and DJ Moore can bring that out of the Chicago Bears. I also think that maybe it's being understated how much firepower is now in the NFC North. The Vikings have one of the best offenses. The Lions under Ben Johnson have been an absolute powerhouse. And once Jameson Williams comes back, we're talking about it even getting better. And then the Packers. I mean, we don't know how it's going to go because it's the Jordan Love era, but I mean, they still have 2 good running backs. They've invested quite a bit in the pass catching team this year, getting 2 tight ends in Jaden Reed with a top 50 selection for Mr. Reed. So I do think that this is going to be a good haul that the team moving away from Waddle is. So getting, like you said, Jackson Smith-Njigba, that's a top 15 dynasty receiver. DJ Moore is probably right outside. We have him at the wide receiver 17. Juju is very volatile. He probably will get 120, 125 targets this year in New England now with DeAndre Hopkins not going to the Patriots. So this is a good haul. But when you look at the format, 10 teams, 10 starters, 50 starting receivers at most per season, per week. If Jackson takes some time to get ready in this offense, get acclimated in this offense, you're talking about just the DJ Moore starting, being a guaranteed starter on a competitive team. Now, having said that, I'm assuming the team moving off of Waddle is looking for more assets, maybe looking more of a productive struggle. But I would also argue that Jalen Waddle's super young, so to get this guy, it's a tremendous W for Mr. Hutch. Super fast, super electric offense in an AFC East that should be a lot more shootout prone than it has in recent history. You're getting the superstar in the shallow format, so that's going to bump it up enough to me. I'm with you, though, Jason, after I said all this, because I think we're both kind of just arguing other sides of the same coin here. I'm going to give it a 72 in favor of Hutch, but still a solid C. I think this is a win on both sides. Seth, how do you see this trade break now? Give us your grade.
Yeah, I think definitely the 10 team makes the Waddle side make more sense, because if it were a 12 team, I would say obviously the DJ Moore side, Smith-Njigba, Smith-Schuster side wins out. But I think I'm going to agree with you. But I just want to point out that I feel, and Matty and I think are in the same wavelength as in this belief that DJ Moore is going to be super productive for fantasy football. There's a lot of narrative out there about the Bears offense last year, about how it was laughably not pass heavy at all, and they ran the ball more than any other team. But now DJ Moore finally has that quarterback. I mean, if you look at DJ Moore's catchable target rate over the last 4 years, it's laughable. I mean, number 90 last year, number 71 in 2021, number 79 in 2020, number 75 in 2019. So Justin Fields doesn't need to be great. He just needs to be good to get the ball to a receiver that excels in the area of the field where Justin Fields is good. Justin Fields is good throwing the ball intermediate, and that's where DJ Moore will excel in this offense. And I you could call me a homer, you could call me, I got my Bears goggles on, but I think this Justin Fields DJ Moore stack is going to win some people some tournaments, some leagues this year. So I'm a big believer in DJ Moore. I'm a big believer in Smith and Jigba, so I think I favor that side even in this 10-team format. But I can understand getting Waddle. I mean, Waddle's just a proven superstar. So if you need to consolidate some roster spots, I get it. But give me the DJ Moore side. I'll probably give it around a 70. I think that's a fair grade. So I'm right there in lockstep with you. But I think we're still too low on DJ Moore.
Oh, that's music to my ears, Mr. Diewold. I mean, I love the DJ Moore love. I'm also sitting here looking at this graphic, completely bugging out. Has there ever been a trade with two guys, J. Smith - second name, in the history of fantasy football?
Never.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, how many players with a hyphenated name are there?
There's not many. And it's just,
yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster, Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was Jalen Smith-Waddle. Just a thought that would just add to the craziness of the trade. But I really was trying to build up another. We got a crazy trade here today, but it's not this next one. This next one though is a fun one. Coke Harrell 13 in the Discord. He is receiving Kyle Pitts, Rondell Moore, Jahan Dotson in a 2025 first-round pick. And he's sending away CeeDee Lamb, Isaiah Likely in a 2024 second pick. This trade was completed in a 12-team PPR Superflex, another 1.5 TEP start 10. Seth, kick us off on this one. Grade the trade for Mr. Coke Harrell 13.
Wow. I think this is another good example of selling high and buying low. I think you're definitely buying low on Kyle Pitts in a tight end premium league. I am super big on tight end on Kyle Pitts in just about every format this year because of the price tag. I mean, how can you not be in on a tight end who his rookie season he beat every record that Mike Ditka could throw at him. I mean,
did you do that on purpose, or you just supporting your boy here?
No, I'm just supporting your boy, Dick Butkus. Was it Dick Butkus?
Dick
Butkus.
Yeah.
Oh my god! It was one of those. It was one of those tough Bears players that we're known for. But Kyle Pitts, insane athletic profile in a tight end premium league. You get Jahan Dotson, who is also a underrated player. Rondell Moore, all of a sudden, with DeAndre Hopkins departing and Hollywood Brown. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to. I don't want to speak to his contract because off the top of my head, I want to say that his contract might be expiring. I'm not exactly sure, but there's more opportunity there in Arizona, and they could very well be in this Caleb Williams sweepstakes for the number one pick, and you get the first round pick in 2025. I do understand you're giving up CeeDee Lamb, but I'm going to give this a solid B plus just because I like Kyle Pitts that much as a tight end, as just a set it and forget it. And I know we want to talk about this Atlanta offense in terms of, there's no quarterback. They want to run the ball. But think about it this way. Either Desmond Ridder is going to be good and they're going to be out of the quarterback conversation because Desmond Ridder's good, or Desmond Ridder is going to be bad and they're going to be in the quarterback market with potentially, I don't know, Kirk Cousins or Kyler Murray, or think of the quarterbacks that could be available to Atlanta who could have a high pick because their quarterback's not going to be that good. So either Ridder's not good this year or they're moving on, because they don't have much invested in him. So long term, Kyle Pitts, trust in the athleticism, go buy Kyle Pitts. I like this trade.
Yeah, Jason was 2 in the Kyle Pitts Hornerooski just a week ago. So, Jason, how do you grade this trade?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty lockstep with Seth as well. He gave a B plus. I'm feeling at least an A on here because as you guys know, a few weeks ago, I had CeeDee Lamb as a sell candidate. Right now, he's the wide receiver 3 in Dynasty. He can't go any higher. He's not passing Ja'Marr Chase. He's not passing Justin Jefferson. So at the very least, we are at his floor or ceiling, and it could maybe stay there. Or more than likely, it's going down and someone else has taken that wide receiver 3 spot next year. And then you talk about Kyle Pitts, who last week, you could turn into last week's episode. I laid out why I believe Kyle Pitts will be the main receiving option on the Falcons offense. I firmly believe it. Drake London taking away the cornerback ones, Bijan Robinson taking away a linebacker. Kyle Pitts is going to be open 10 times out of 10 times. Will he get the ball every time? Who knows? But he's going to see tons of volume. We've seen the efficiency in his rookie year, and capitalize on the fact that Kyle Pitts has never played a game with Desmond Ridder, and so people are unsure. Don't be unsure about Kyle Pitts. He's going into his third year. This tight ends take some time. I know we're upset. I know we've been burned by Kyle Pitts, but this is a player you've got to keep going back to the well on. We saw it with TJ Hawkinson. Everyone gave up on TJ Hawkinson. Now look at him. He's right back where he should have been. And that's the exact same trajectory for Kyle Pitts, probably even better. You're telling me you're trading the wide receiver 3 in Dynasty for the tight end 3 in Dynasty in a tight end premium, plus a top 30 wide receiver in Jahan Dotson, plus a top 50 probably wide receiver in Rondale Moore, and a first-round pick 2 years down the line. I mean, God, every single day of the week, give me this trade. Carroll, congratulations on the assets you've received. This is an A trade for me.
I'll make it quick. I do believe CD Lamb is by far the best asset in this trade if you're trying to win in 23. But I'm going to assume that Cole Carroll is looking for the future because, like you said, Jason, it might even take another year for Kyle Pitts to truly be a dominator in fantasy. But if you just break the trade down, Dotson and Pitts would be enough for me to sell Lamb. And then if you're talking about a first and 25 and Rondale Moore versus likely in a 24 second, give me the first rounder, even if it's a year later. So I'm going to give him a solid 78. But because he's a member of the Discord, I'm going to make that a B-. I'm a good teacher.
There you go.
I do want to say, before we move on, Seth brought up if Desmond Ridder sucks, then we've got another quarterback next year. But even if Desmond Ridder sucks, Taylor Heineke is going to be fine this year. Totally fine this year. So I think
he's okay. He can support. He could give Drake London one game, Kyle Pitts one game, Bijan Robinson one game. Yeah.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
So Kyle Pitts, after finishing number 11 in fantasy points per game his rookie year, finished number 22, but he was number 1 in deep targets, number 2 in average ADOT, average target distance, and number 1 in unrealized air yards amongst tight ends last year. So, and number 1 in target rate, but that's really not fair because Atlanta never passed the ball. So how can you be number 1 in target rate amongst tight ends and finishes the tight end 22 in fantasy points per game? That tells me you were dealing with a pretty terrible quarterback.
Right. So so basically betting on Pitts in 23 is betting on Desmond Ridder. It's that simple.
Yep. I mean, or Heineke. And
I think it's a bet on the Falcons offense, to be honest. If you're going to take a Falcons pass catcher, it better be Kyle Pitts.
Ooh, love it. Love the take. Love the take.
Just think about what they've invested in their offense. Bijan, top 8 pick. Drake London, top 10 pick. Pitts, top 5 pick, right?
He was 4 overall, I believe. He went above Jahmyr.
Overall. And a top 10 offensive line and a top 16 head coach. Probably better.
29th best quarterback in the league.
Man, they're gonna know. They're gonna know if Ritter's no good. They're gonna know right away.
Who knows? Maybe Trey Lance. Maybe those rumors get a little steam heading into OTAs or to minicamp. Right. We'll see. This next trade, though, boys, it's going to take some explaining to do. Okay, so let's bring it up. This is
Lord,
it's Gippy F1 in the chat. I mean, in the Discord. Shout out to you. Always giving us trades to break down on Trade God. So big shout out to you, Gippy F1 in the Discord. This is part of a 3-way trade. So because the assets are so stacked up, it's because there was another team that facilitated this trade. But we don't really care about what those other teams received. We're just breaking it down from Gippy's point of view. So his part of the trade was Hurts, Etienne, Gibbs, and Marvin Mims. And to get all this to happen, he sent away Jeff Wilson, Khalil Herbert, Anthony Richardson, and 24 first-round picks. The guy who sold Hurts, for the additional context, received all 4 of these round ones and an additional first. So he got 5 round ones from this trade, trading Jalen Hurts. It is a 12-team PPR Superflex 1.5 TEP start 11, so a little bit deeper than some of these last trades. A lot to break down. I'm very excited to hear from Mr. Allwine.
Yeah. No, I saw this in the Discord and I replied to it, and I still haven't wrapped my head around it at all. This is just such a massive trade. I would love to pull on my Mr. Allwine pants and be like, why is it so convoluted? In fact, that's what I said in Discord. I replied to it and said, well, I get the trade, but what would it look like if it was Anthony Richardson plus for Jalen Hurts? Like, would it just be Anthony Richardson and a first for Jalen Hurts? That feels like a simple trade. Let's do that. But instead, it's an incredibly convoluted trade with asset after asset after asset being thrown into it. So, for the sake of argument, I'm going to break it down like this. Let's say that Jahmyr Gibbs, Travis Etienne, and Marvin Mims are worth 324 first-round picks. To make sure I did plug it into the trade analyzer, it's fairly close. I feel like Gibbs could probably fetch two firsts. ETN is close to a first, so to throw Marvin Mims in there, I feel like it's fine. So we'll cancel that out. So then it just comes down to Anthony Richardson, a first-round pick, Jeff Wilson, and Khalil Herbert for Jalen Hurts. The trade analyzer does take the Anthony Richardson side by a decent margin, but personally, I do find it fairly close, even though I do believe in Anthony Richardson a good bit. I think overall, I'm just going to give it a grade of a B, a firm B, because they traded away unproven assets and future assets for current guys that not only have a ton of potential, but also do have proven worth. So it is a smart move. It's just giving away so many future assets that keeps it from being an A for me. I just feel like so much was given away that, overall, both teams are happy. Both teams are getting tons of assets. I'm keeping it as a B here. I would have liked to see a cleaner trade, but I get it. I like Travis Etienne. I like Gibbs. I love Hurts. I like Mims. Right. I'm not a big fan of Jeff Wilson. Not a big fan of Khalil Herbert. Huge fan of Anthony Richardson. And who knows what those first turn into? But again, B for this trade. Congratulations on getting the current assets with potential. But you did trade away a lot in the future.
My analysis on this trade and my grade breakdown is going to turn a lot of value snobs beat red. They're going to be really mad at what I say here, because this is the type of thing that gets some of the community that only looks at value and just only looks to value and doesn't necessarily put their pedal to the metal, just kind of, get mad when they hear things like this. So I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway. Sometimes when you're going to get your guy, you gotta pay for it.
Yep.
Some things aren't for sale. You gotta make them for sale.
Yep.
I actually just overpaid for Pat Mahomes in my home league. And guess what? If I posted it out here, I think a lot of people would probably tell me I'm dumb. But sometimes I just say, screw it. You have to pay the price. Sometimes when you walk to a store and you like a pair of Jordans, you gotta pay the man, the piper. This trade to me smells of that. He pays a lot, but he gets a lot. I'm going to give it an 86, a solid B. I'd probably bump it close to an A- if he could have held on to one of these first, because I think when you're going for it this heavily, you hate to put all those fun coupons in one trade. So if he was able to hold on to just one of these and it was 3 round ones, I would have said it was an A-. But even with the fourth, sometimes you just got to get your guy and listen. Gibbs, ETN, would any of you be shocked if he just acquired 2 top 12, top 14 running backs on a points per game basis in the season? No. And then Marvin Mims, we'll wait to see. But these could be, a complete game changer in Jalen Hurts and 2 stud running backs. So, yes, sometimes you got to pay the man, the piper, to get the guy that you want to lead the franchise. But shout out you, Gippy, showing the league you got some cojones and making it happen.
Yep.
Seth, how do you grade this trade?
Oh my God, this I can't believe this trade didn't break the trade analyzer.
Well, Jason had to chop it up into 8 different pieces.
I know. Like I'll just go ahead and cross Jeff Wilson off, and I think Khalil Herbert is almost a cross off. To be honest, I know that a lot of people think that he's going to lead the Bears in production this year, and I guess it's possible, but I think that backfield's Roschon Johnson's in the future. So from a dynasty perspective, Khalil Herbert's not quite a cross off, but I'd be trying to trade him right now because he's not a good in pass protection. He's not good at catching the ball out of the backfield. So what's he gonna do? I mean, there are two other guys that can run the ball in between the tackles there now. So Donta Foreman's probably better than him at that, and Roschon's probably better in pass protection and catching the pass to the backfield. So what do you think's going to happen to Khalil Herbert? So anyway, a little tidbit there from a guy who follows the Bears too closely.
Had to make it a Bears show, Seth, you son of a bitch.
Yes, I almost did. I didn't quite do it with the DJ Moore. I could have, but I could have.
But this was the final straw. You did it.
Yeah. So essentially, to me, this trade is Richardson and 4 firsts for Hurts, ETN, Gibbs, and Mims. And so if you're going for it, I mean, you get Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is easily worth 3 firsts, maybe like worth Richardson and 2 firsts, I would say. And then that comes down to now you're getting ETN, Gibbs, and Mims for the other 2 firsts. And dude, we're in this to win championships.
Yep.
And so if this is the move that makes you the ultimate contender in your league, I'm totally fine with it. I'm giving it an A. I'll give it like a 90, 92, but it's one of those weird A's. It's one of those weird A's where there's no A minuses. So it's a 90 for me because you're getting the elite asset. I mean, you could tomorrow, if you wanted to, trade Jalen Hurts for 3 firsts. Right, I think
you're saying you can recoup a lot of these future assets. In one decision.
Maybe not in this league because now a lot of these firsts are on a team that I'm assuming is a rebuilding team now because they just acquired a bunch of firsts and gave up a bunch. So it might in this particular league, but you could get the equivalent of that tomorrow. I mean, Jalen Hurts' value is about as lock and as safe as it gets in Dynasty. So that's the crown jewel of this trade, obviously. But then I think Gibbs has a lot of upside. I know Theo really likes him this year in that Detroit offense that you're going to want piece of this NFC North. I mean, there's just not a lot of good defenses, and I think there's going to be a lot of shootouts. So, and Mims is a very intriguing prospect. So I really like this because we're in this to win it, and you get the crown jewel asset in Jalen Hurts. It sucks giving up Richardson because I think he might be able to turn into that, but we aren't sure as of right now. So I'm totally cool with this. I'm 1,000% on the side of your listener here.
Shout out Gibby F1 for getting the highest grade of the show. The next trade we're going to break down is part of a 10-team half-point PPR Superflex 1.0 tight end premium because half-point PPR start 10. This comes from Fantasy Moonman in the Discord. He is receiving Cooper Kupp in a 25-second for Shoddy B, Rashad Bateman, and Brock Purdy. Jason, grade the trade for Mr. Fantasy Moonman.
Yeah, this one's tough for me because I love Brock Purdy. I really do. I believe he will be the starter and continue to be the starter for the San Francisco 49ers. He's done too much for that not to be the case. However, I understand how value works. So I do think they've won this trade. I'm going to put it at a C+ because overall I do take the Kupp side right now. I just think that, maybe during the season that you can maybe get Kupp a little bit less. But overall, I feel like they got Cooper Kupp for a great price. If I look at the trade finder, which I did, go check out PlayerProfiler.com. Look at the trade finder. You can find all sorts of trades that were actually completed in real leagues. Here are 3 that were just insane for Cooper Kupp. Kenneth Walker and the 106 in 2023. Jalen Waddle for Cooper Kupp straight up. And even a Najee Harris plus Stephon Diggs deal. So the fact that Cooper Kupp was acquired for just Bateman and Purdy does lend some credence to it. It is a win. It's just I love myself some Purdy, and in a super flex league, you would like to have that quarterback. I do believe this is a low point in the market for both Bateman and Purdy. So because they're going against the principles of selling low on good assets, I have to dock them a little bit. but still they've passed this trade. I'm going to give them as close to a B as possible, a 79.
I'm actually going to give it an 81. I'm going to give it a solid B for a lot of things you said, Jason. Cooper Kupp, I mean, he had 98 targets in 9 games last year. He had 22 points per game. It doesn't matter if it's Matthew Stafford with his linguini elbow or Stetson Bennett. I mean, Cooper Kupp is going to be a target monster, and he is going to be a beast. In anywhere where they award, even if it's a half-point PPR to receivers, he's going to be uber valuable. Now, I'm adding this additional context. It's not in the notes, so I'm just assuming here by analyzing a lot of trades. Jason and I look at a lot of trades, so you kind of get a knack for this thing. I'm assuming Brock Purdy's his QB4, at QB3 at best.
Yeah.
So he's probably selling Brock Purdy without really needing Brock Purdy. And Rashad Bateman at this point is, we're getting dangerously close to the hope side of the fence here, where we used to be draft capital analyzing, his skills, and now we're getting to what we hope he's good territory because he can't stay healthy. They keep bringing in more and more pass catchers, so I still believe in Bateman. But again, we talked about an earlier show being most like closely to that 60th receiver than he ever was before. So I don't think it's a big loss there. Now, if that was a 24-second and he was getting a little bit more immediate value as opposed to the 25-second, I would have bumped it up to be probably a B+. But having said this here, I'm going to give it a solid B- at 82 percentile. Seth, how do you see this trade? Breaking it down.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're right about Purdy. I'm guessing he probably what are you going to do if you're a contender and you have 4 quarterbacks? I mean, you can only start 2 of them in a super flex league. So I'm sure that factors in here, and context matters around these trades. This is a classic win now move, in my opinion. And I think Cooper Kupp, much like Kelsey, I think, we're talking an elite player. I mean, one of the better wide receivers we've ever seen in an offense that doesn't have a good defense. I mean, if Cooper Kupp's healthy this year, he's gonna kill it. I mean, he's gonna have a year, and he's gonna set it and forget it type of player in your lineup. So this is, I think, another good move. We're here to win, and while I love Bateman, but he's unproven, and there's some uncertainty. I mean, Purdy, I think, is likely more valuable than Bateman. That might be a hot take, but it's. I feel like maybe they're around a similar value. But I really like this Cooper Kupp side, especially you're getting that 2nd round pick. I know it's not a 2024 pick, but that could be another pick you use to go out and get a veteran that you need. Let's say maybe Tyler Lockett could be a piece that you could go get for that 2nd. I don't know. So that could be another piece that you use to just add to your team. So I like this Cooper Kupp side because I think Cooper Kupp's got a lot left in the tank.
Shout out to you, Fantasy Moonman. And if you're checking out this show here on YouTube, leave a little note in the comments section. Let us know. Was this your QB 3 or 4 or 5? We would love to know that extra context to really get the gist of the trade. So shout out to you, Fantasy Moonman. This last trade comes to us from Atomic X Media, Cody74 on Sleeper. This is a startup trade. Okay, so this is happening during a startup draft. He is receiving the 305, the 608, and a future 24 first, a 24 second, and a future 25 first. And he's moving away a massive asset here, the 111 in the startup draft, the 602, and a 25 second. Now get ready, folks. This is a 10-team PPR Superflex 1.5 TEP, 1.25 running back premium, 6-point per passing TD, start 11. So we are talking about some pretty cool values here. Seth, throw us a grade here on this trade for Mr. Atomic X Media in Discord. Jason, you got something?
Yeah, how is there a 111 if it's a 10 team?
It must be a 12 team. This must be a complete misprint.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Sorry.
It is. Oh, right. I'm looking at the notes. Sometimes the graphics lie, folks. The notes.
I just want to make
sure.
Listen,
dude.
Good catch here, and I'm sure all the listeners are going, Yes, this is a 12-teamer. This is a 12-team league. Okay. So it's a pretty deep starting lineup here, start 11 and a 12-teamer. So Seth, now that the information is correct here, coming from someone who just deployed the productive struggle in the Dynasty Roundtable startup, How are you grading this trade?
Oh my God. If you're going the productive struggle route, I'm a cross off guy. Okay. And some people might go, yeah, how could you, they might have that reaction, whatever that was. Like,
Some people might go,
I don't like how he's doing that, but this is what I do.
That was a total Joe Bleh move.
I feel like the 602, 608, you're getting around the same type of player there. So
yeah, enough of that guy. Enough. I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna type it in the chat, and that's gonna do nobody any good.
Oh, that was a callback to before the recording.
I'm snapping.
I'm crossing. So the 608, 602, obviously those aren't the same thing, but they're close. So I'm crossing it off. So that leaves us with the 111 and a 2025 second for the 305 in the startup, a 2024 first, 2024 second, 2025 first. Why don't we just cross I know that you're getting the better second round pick because it's sooner. So essentially, this is two first round picks in the 305 for the 111. That's way more than I got for the 112 that I traded away in the Dynasty Roundtable startup. So bravo, Cody 74. I bet you if you put this in the trade analyzer, it's a smash too. So a lot of good assets that you're getting back, and the 305 is a really good pick. So bravo, man. You crushed it.
Jason,
99. This gets a 99.
Whoa. Maybe I gave away the award too soon for the highest grade. Let's see what the aggregate plays out. Jason, how are you grading this trade?
That's so funny. I'm just on the complete opposite side here. This is my lowest grade of the night. I get it. I think he did get a fair return. But when you're starting up a dynasty league, I just don't want to punt immediately. And I mean, I think you got a fair return. And I know that with the 305, you're still getting a decent foundation for your team, but not what you would have got with the 111 in a super flex tight end premium league. So it's just, for me, I want that asset there when I'm starting a league, but that's just a personal preference. I mean, I do think overall you're probably still going to be fine. You're not really competing this year, but you will be competing in years to come. I think if the 25 first was another 24 first, I might be a little bit happier about it. It's just, I don't like the overall strategy, but I do get it. And I think it makes sense. It's just, for me personally, not a big fan. I would just rather take Ja'Marr Chase right there at the 111.
Well, it'd be more like Bijan Robinson, because I can give you an additional context. This is the beauty of breaking down trades for members of the Discord. They talk to us, and that's why if you're not tapped into the Player Profiler Discord, you're doing yourself a disservice here in fantasy football, because we're all in there and we're talking trades all the time. We're talking advice, player takes, news. Sometimes the staff talks to each other. We just do so much in the Player Profiler Discord, so you got to check that out. But we do have additional context, because Mr. Atomic Media is in the Player Profile Discord. He said all the top QBs were gone, so assume that Deshaun Watson is the highest rated QB. He said the two top receivers were also off the board. So we are looking at wide receiver 3, Deshaun Watson, Travis Kelce, tight end route, or CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver 3. Does that change your mind at all, Jason?
If that 111 was Bijan, I am definitely taking the Bijan side, and nothing has changed.
So it could be Bijan. It could absolutely be Bijan. He said Bijan was available.
If it's CeeDee Lamb, I think I'm still there. I think I'd rather have the CeeDee Lamb side, just because I want that asset now. But that is about as close as I get. Like, if you tell me that's Cooper Kupp for some reason, or you tell me that that's Deshaun Watson, I'm not that happy about it. I do think I would rather have the future assets. And I mean, that 305, Najee Harris, pulling a name out of a hat right there, but that's not a bad asset. So I would like to see the names attached to this, but I'm just assuming that this is probably a top end. I'm giving some best case scenario, and I would like, the 111 in a startup for sure.
I'm going to give it a solid C+ because I do think that once you miss out on those two receivers and all the the top 9 quarterbacks, top 8 quarterbacks, it does feel like the smart move is to move back and kind of recalibrate, because if he had the 111, he had the 202. Right, because this is a 12-teamer, not 10-teamer. Don't believe the graphics. The graphics lying. So I do think he's coming away with a pretty good asset at the 202, and then having he'll have his late 3. He'll have 2/3 now. He could still build a contender and have the additional assets to have some expenditures later. That's why I'm going to give it a C+. I do like the trade. The additional context does help. And Atomic Media, if you're checking this out on YouTube, go ahead, just leave a few comments in the comment section about maybe what are these players that we're going, so we could put some names to it, and maybe we could kind of touch upon it later, maybe in an overtime session later on down the road. So that's going to wrap up the 6 trades. We did 6 grades. Now we're going to move on to America's favorite segment here on Trade Gods.
It's time to buy and sell.
And we are talking about not 1, not 2, but 3 Tennessee Titans. There was a massive shakeup. DeAndre Hopkins signed a 2-year deal to play in Nashville. So we are talking about buying and selling Treylon Burks, DeAndre Hopkins, and Chigoziem Okonkwo. Let's start with Treylon Burks. Seth, are you buying or selling Treylon Burks after the D-Hop news?
I think just as a general principle, I'm buying, but that's the kind of dynasty player I am. I'm always kicking the tires on a player that's value has gone down. It's kind of like buying stocks. You see a stock dip by 30%. You look into it. You say, why did this happen? Did the CEO kill a man? I don't know. What happened? Is there a legitimate reason why this happened? And of course, Hopkins is a legitimate reason, but Hopkins is an older player, and this quarterback situation, I mean, it could change drastically next year. And Hopkins, who knows? I mean, I know they signed him to a 2-year deal, but I still think there's some room in this offense for Treylon Burks. I mean, they desperately needed somebody like DeAndre Hopkins, and he's going to eat up a lot of the targets of this year. But as he ages, I'm still willing to bet on the talent of a Treylon Burks, so I'm buying.
Jason, buy or sell Treylon Burks?
Yeah, I'm right there with Seth, and I mean, I'm just gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna put the cart before the horse and kind of talk about the situation with both Burks and Okonkwo, and that is to me that they're both buys. Both of them this offseason were steamed up because we were hoping for some extra volume. It was just them. They were going to eat it all. Now, that's not the case, right? DeAndre Hopkins is there. He's taking away some volume. But still, the argument for Treylon Burks, the argument for Chig Okonkwo was their athleticism. And both of them are hyper-efficient athletes. And when I put my football goggles on, I recognize that the Tennessee Titans are a really good football team, right? And they're efficient. They run the play action offense better than anyone in the NFL. And that's not like Ryan Tannehill has laser vision onto DeAndre Hopkins and DeAndre Hopkins only. No, Tannehill has been in the league long enough to know that you are finding the open receiver regardless of what their name is. And so for me, I'm betting on the athleticism of a Chig Okonkwo and Treylon Burks every single day of the week. It's a market play at the end of the day. Like Seth said, you see the value dip. You've got to capitalize. And that's what I'm doing. I think that, even if DeAndre Hopkins plays the full season, that both of these guys will be fine. And then eventually DeAndre Hopkins will be gone and they'll be very, very good again. So I'm in on these players. I love their athleticism, love the profile, and love the potential in the Tennessee Titans offense as well.
So I did a little deep dive. I wanted to see what Ryan Tannehill looks like as a quarterback that can potentially support multiple pass catching options in Tennessee. There were 2 seasons that stuck out in terms of his most pass-happy campaigns. That was 2020 and 2021. In 2020, Tannehill threw 481 pass attempts. He scored 22 fantasy points per game. He was QB9. His wide receiver 1 was A.J. Brown, who had over 1,000 yards, over 100 targets, 11 touchdowns, and was wide receiver 6. Corey Davis saw almost 100 targets. He had almost 1,000 receiving yards. He was wide receiver 32 on a points per game basis. And Jonnu Smith saw 65 targets, about 450 receiving yards, had 8 touchdowns. Pretty good, 8 touchdowns. He was tight end 13 on a points per game basis. Now, in 2021, that pass attempt went up to 531. Tannehill went down to 16.6 fantasy points a game. That was 14th. A.J. Brown remained his wide receiver 1, over 100 targets, 869 receiving yards. He was wide receiver 24 on a points per game basis. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine was the second highest receiver with 476 receiving yards and had the 6.7 fantasy points a game. He was wide receiver 71. Anthony Fursker, 43 targets, had 300 receiving yards, was tight end 28. So there was no other supported pass catchers in 2021. Now, when I look at these 2 seasons, it really was the picture that I needed to be painted for all 3 of these guys. And Treylon Burks is a sell to me because I can't say with any confidence whether he's A.J. Brown or Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Corey Davis in this situation. And if you're telling me that his upside is wide receiver 6, like, holy cow, that's really great, obviously, but I don't think that's the case. I mean, A.J. Brown was playing with was not playing with someone as talented as DeAndre Hopkins. And, Ryan Tannehill is going to be going to, I think it's his age 33, 35 season, somewhere in that range. So we're talking about an older guy here, someone who may not even be the starter all year long. So I'm selling because you could still get a 24 first for Treylon Burks and reset the clock there. You can move him for Jalen Waddle. I mean, Jalen Waddle, if you add a little something on the side, there's enough here, and I'm just not necessarily interested in playing the gamble of who's going to be A.J. Brown in this offense. So I am selling Treylon Burks. Now, we talked about Burks. Let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins. Jason, you buying or selling D-Hop?
D-Hop to me, I mean, ultimately he's a hold, right? Like, I'm perfectly fine having to roster DeAndre Hopkins. There is nothing wrong with that at all. But if I do roster him, I'm trying to sell him. I'm trying to see what I can get, and I want to get as good of a return as possible. It's just important to remember how good of a player that DeAndre Hopkins has been over his career. He hasn't had under 14 points per game since 2016. And even in that year, he had a pretty solid 12.3 points per game. And last season, he was number 4 in target share. And that's part of the reason, of course, why we're so concerned about Burks of Okonkwo, is that because DeAndre Hopkins demands so many targets. He was a fantastic route runner, number 4 in route win rate last season, number 2 in route win rate against man specifically. So he's an elite route runner, an elite separator at the next level. No matter what, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be good for fantasy football. He is what he is. And so I think the best course of action for this would be to hold DeAndre Hopkins until the season starts, until people see those points hit the board. And that's when you can fully set sail on him, get some other assets, because I've talked time and time again on this show. The wide receiver market is the most volatile market in this fantasy football community, in this space. You can find value year in, year out. If there's a guy you like that's incredibly cheap, you can trade D-Hop for them in a pretty penny, and you will be fine. You can replace the production that you're going to get from DeAndre Hopkins fairly easily, and I'm fine moving him if you can get a good return.
Seth, you buying or selling DeAndre Hopkins?
I think every year there are certain players that if you're a contending team, and I try to set my teams up to where I'm a perpetually contending team, even if I have to go down the productive struggle route. DeAndre Hopkins is one of these players that I'm always going to be in on buying because the price is not going to break the bank. And DeAndre Hopkins, the last, I don't know, let's count them, Matty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons. Every time he's been healthy, he's been a top 10 receiver in fantasy points per game. In fact, in 2022, he was number 9 and he played 9 games in fantasy points per game. The year before, He's not ranked. I mean, 14.7 fantasy points per game. I'm guessing that would be a wide receiver too, but you get the point. I mean, he is an elite receiver in an offense that the same reasons we loved Okonkwo and Burks was because, I mean, God, the volume's going to be there, even in an offense that features Derrick Henry. So now you would think he's getting 130 targets easy in this offense. Now, I hope that for my sake, that if I'm investing in DeAndre Hopkins, that Ryan Tannehill's the quarterback, because I know what I'm getting there. But yeah, just to be clear, I am buying DeAndre Hopkins on a team where I'm a contender, because I think the price tag is probably going to be a future second, I'm guessing. But it just kind of depends.
I sent him away for like a Brock Purdy and a second in one league.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. So not reasonable. It's not going to break the bank, and it could put you over the top. I mean, because he's probably he has a chance to give you that top 10 wide receiver. I mean, really good chance of being a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy points per game.
I'm scarred by the ghosts of Randy Moss, Andre Johnson, and Julio Jones. And I'm selling DeAndre Hopkins for everything I said for Treylon. I just don't know if I can confidently pick out how this is going to go. But then I was listening to Jason. I thought that's a really good idea. Maybe we should wait and hold. So what I did was I went to the world famous draft kit that you can get at playerprofiler.com. So make sure you're checking out the Player Profiler world famous draft kit. And what we have there is something called Team Insights, which has a whole breakdown on all 32 teams. And you can look at the schedule. So I looked at the schedule of the Tennessee Titans. They're at New Orleans, home against the Chargers, at the Cleveland, home against the Bengals. I don't think those are good matchups for Tennessee and for their potential to score a lot of points. I might be looking to sell now, because I think as much as Jason's right that if you believe he can get you 15, 16, 17 over the first 3 weeks, you could sell at a premium. I also think if you get 8, 9, and 10, you're not selling at all, because you will be now looking in the dumpster. So if you look at those first four matchups and you say to yourself they can score, then hold. But I think Jason and I are both selling here, whether it be now or Halloween. So we're looking to sell DeAndre Hopkins. Let's get down to Chig Okonkwo. I'll get it started. My argument for buying Okonkwo is simply this. It's the lowest bar that he's going to have to cross to return value. We're talking about touchdowns. We saw Ryan Tannehill connect with Jonnu Smith for 8 touchdowns. It only got him to tight end 13. That's how little he was used and how little he produced outside of scoring those touchdowns. But Chig Okonkwo's come off the board right around 11 to 13, so he can return value with just a season of a little bit of tight end luck. We've seen him be hyper efficient. He's a good athlete, like you said, Jason. So I'm buying Chig Okonkwo. I know you said earlier you're buying Chig Okonkwo. So wrap this thing up, Seth. Are you buying or selling Mr. Chigoziem Okonkwo?
I love Chigoziem Okonkwo. So yes, I'm buying, because I'm buying all 3 of these guys. Different situation. I mean, because I'm always on the lookout for discounted players, and he's a discounted player right now. So I can, the stock has gone down a little bit because of DeAndre Hopkins, but he was super efficient in his rookie season. One of the more efficient rookies that we've seen in just a little amount of time that we have seen him play. So I'm always going to push my chips in on the talent, and I feel like this guy's got a lot of talent. So the quarterback landscape of this team, I mean, I know they drafted Will Levis, but who knows? This could be another team that is in on a Kirk Cousins or Trey Lance, or who knows? Who knows what can happen? So I'm buying.
Jason, anything else you want to add here?
Yeah, Matty, I'm sorry. I think if you're selling DeAndre Hopkins, you have to be buying Treylon Burks. I think you have to. Like, if you're uncomfortable in believing in DeAndre Hopkins, that means that Treylon Burks is going to succeed. So I'm
saying I don't know if I can confidently pick either one. So
as
we stand right now, that I'd rather go with both.
That's why I think you've got to go with the younger asset with the athleticism in Treylon Burks.
Right, but
swallow that pill.
But I'm not giving up the 24 first that he's going for. I'm not giving up the Jahan Dotson that he's going for. Part of my argument of selling Burks was that you could still get out from underneath him and look good. You can reset the rookie clock if you trade for that 24 first. If I thought his value was in the dumps, I would be buying. I mean, we've seen on Trade Guys, if you've tuned into Trade Guys, You've seen me go 180 on a player because the value just tanks so much that it becomes a buy. So Treylon could absolutely be that for me, no doubt about it. So I'm not saying that I'm always going to be out on Treylon, but right now, knowing that what I can get for the second-year guy who hasn't really proven a ton and this offense is cloudy, I'm looking to still sell them both. And the reason why I'm buying Chig is because I do believe he can return value pretty easily. And if you don't, I still think that at this point, what is he going in tight end premium leagues? You're going to have to pay up for him. So in those, maybe I'm a little bit more hesitant, but I think in most leagues, I think Chigoziem right now is going for a decent price. And like I said, the barrier for success is so much lower.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and Chig has fallen much further than Burks has, to everyone's credit here.
There's a big rallying cry to go by Burks. And I'm not saying the people that are saying this are wrong. I don't believe that at all, because all those things that you guys talked about when it comes to a guy like Burks is going to be there, whether it's D-Hop as the wide receiver one or not. But I do think the folks saying that this is a similar situation to Devontae Smith is nutso. Devontae produced a lot more as a rookie, has Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, and that offense was transcending. And I know people might be even saying right now on this episode, well, how can you say that a guy like DJ Moore can change an offense and how many times they throw the ball, but a guy like D-Hop can't? It's not that D-Hop can't, it's that D-Hop's not at the age that, DJ Moore is, and the Tennessee Titans are not at the stage that the Chicago Bears are in. The Bears have a better quarterback. They have their first-round guy in the prime of his career. They invested in the offensive line. They've done enough to push that offense forward, where all the Titans have done is really just stay put and looking like they're not going to fire. The offense was looking terrible, and they just bring in a cheap option, or not cheap option, but a free option, only costs them money. Then have to use a draft pick or trade the draft picks to get D-Hop. I don't think it's an apples for apples thing, but I understand the idea that there is a price if it gets to that market. We were just talking. Trade markers like the stock market. I will set my my little meter here. Once Burks gets to this price, I'm hitting that buy button. But right now, I just think he's a sell.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Matty Kiwoom is a trade god, right there.
That's why
we are the trade gods, because we break it down for everybody.
That's a really good point that you bring up, because there are situations like this where you would assume that a player's value would go down. But then if there's, it's supply and demand, right? If everybody's thinking the same thing, if everybody's thinking, oh my God, we should go out and trade for Treylon Burks, likely, you're not going to get a ton of deals done for Treylon Burks because the person holding him sees that too. So it might be easier to get an Okonkwo trade done because we assume that Hopkins and Burks are the top two passing options or top two receiving options in this offense. And it very well could be there's a real world where it's Hopkins and Okonkwo, not Burks. So I think that's the move. I think that's the actionable move that our listeners can take out of this, is maybe avoid Burks as much as I still think I put my buy stamp on him. I think Okonkwo is the guy. That's probably the guy you should go get.
Yeah, no, definitely cheaper and more likely to outproduce the value that you'd have to give up. So I'm with you guys there for sure.
Big shout out to I Am Hutch, Barson, Co-Carol13, Gippy F1, Fantasy Mooman, and Atomic X Media for letting us grade your trades. And a big, massive, super special shout out to Mr. Seth, the editor here at Player Profiler. Thank you for joining the Trade Gods. Sir, the floor is yours. Go ahead and plug everything.
All right, this might take two from earlier. So you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Seth_Diewold, because it's hard to pronounce. It's Diewold, but some people don't know that yet, but we'll work on it. So Seth_Diewold on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube as well. I post YouTube videos, mostly clips from the Dynasty Roundtable, which you can catch on the Player Profiler YouTube channel at 7 p.m. on Wednesday nights. You should definitely check that out tomorrow and going forward. And be sure to like and subscribe to the Player Profiler YouTube channel, where Trade Gods is, where new shows like First and 15, Dynasty Warzone featuring Memphis.
Yeah.
And of course, we have our old reliable shows like The Sonic Truth and Mind of Mansion that let's face it, one of, if not the best fantasy football shows on planet Earth. So subscribe to the channel on YouTube and go check out articles. I've got so many things to plug, dude. Like, it's crazy. Like what I'm doing. Like, go check out the articles too on PlayerProfiler.com. They're free. They're free. And I edit every single one of them with my new co-manager, assistant to the manager. Joel Yabara is our new assistant editor. So awesome. Joel's helping me out. So Joel's a fantastic writer too. So check him out on PlayerProfiler.com.
Oh, love the shout out. Jason, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me personally on Twitter at JFootballWine. You can, of course, find me here Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern with you, my trade god brethren, Matty Kiwoom. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. You can find me on the Player Profiler YouTube channel, Wake and Take, discussing the latest NFL news. And if that is not enough, go follow the YouTube at Roto Underworld, the Facebook Player Profiler, and the TikTok Player Profiler.
Yeah, baby.
TikTok. Matty Kiwoom's doing some TikToks, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, yeah. Absolutely. Make sure you're checking out the Injury Finder and the world famous Draft Kit. Both are live as we speak. You can find me on Twitter at Matty Kiwoom. The Game Plan each and every Saturday. Trade Gods every Thursday. And I will be bringing some Q&As live to TikTok. So you're not going to want to miss out on any of that. And if you just can't get enough of me, you can also head over to patreon.com/theexecutives for Cody and Cody Carpentier and on my Patreon. So you can check that out as well. I'm Matty Kiwoom. He's Jason Allwine. We were joined by the my God, way to fumble on the 1 yard line. You dope. I'm Matty Kiwoom. He's Jason Allwine. We're joined by Seth the D. Tune in next week. Peace.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All-In package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.